Welcome. Welcome to Between the Covers, the show for readers and writers and lovers of books. I'm Stephanie, and I'm the head penguin at Red Penguin Books, an independent publishing company that works with authors of all types and genres. So whether you have a book in your drawer, hundreds of pages written by hand, or maybe it's still stuck in your head, just visit redpenguinbooks.com and unleash your inner author. I'm so thrilled you're here today, and we have, well, on the couch, one live author who managed to unleash, and two others from around the country who are going to be Skyping in. But welcome, Jan Alexander. So you unleashed your inner author. You did it.
I did.
Yes. They say 90% of the population wants to write a book. Here she is.
90%. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. They say
yes.
if you stop people on the street and ask, what is, one of your bucket list items, writing a book, and get only this percent finished, and this is not even just your first book. So you're like the Mount Everest of the crowd. You're just really doing it here.
Well, it takes me a long time to write a book because, life gets in the way.
I understand life. Well, how long did this book take?
This took about 10 years to write.
Okay, well,
I was working a job, and I would write early mornings, sometimes on weekends, but I like to write early in the morning, like 5 o'clock.
No wonder it took you 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, Margaret Mitchell took 10 years to write Gone with the Wind also, so you're an excellent
That was epic.
Well, this is pretty darn epic too, but we'll talk about how epic it really is. Now, when you're not writing, do you love to read?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
What do you like to read? Anything new that you want to recommend to our viewers?
Oh, sure. I just actually read a wonderful book called it's a memoir by Dina Nayeri called The Ungrateful Refugee.
Ooh, I love the title.
Yes, it's intriguing. My book is about China, and China was the subject of my graduate studies, and I lived in Hong Kong and traveled a lot in China for a number of years. More recently, though, I've been reading books about America. And the reason is, there was a time when I thought America was complacent, and I thought, I want to go somewhere else. I want to go to another continent and live a different life and just be somewhere where people don't take ease for granted.
Ooh, I like that.
Now in America, I don't think we're complacent. In fact, the Chinese have an ancient curse. May you live in interesting times. Anyway, so I'm reading a lot of books about America these days. Also, I work for a literary magazine called New World Review and interview authors about the state of America. I have a whole series of author conversations about that. Another one I read recently was The Nickel Boys by Colin Whitehead, which is intense, very disturbing, very well written.
Okay, not beach reading.
No, but I read all the time. I always have to be reading someone else's novel so that I'll get envious and inspired at the same time.
Well, I was reading yours, and they could all get envious of that.
Well, thank you.
Was it Stephen King who said if you want to be a great writer, you have to be a great reader?
Oh, absolutely.
So get reading. So many people say, I don't have time to read if I'm going to write. Well, you better read.
Yeah. Find time to read. I think, I think writing helps you get through life, helps you get through the day, helps you get through a lot of puzzling aspects of life. But reading does too, because you do, you have to explore other worlds and see how they relate to your own. And they give you insights into what's going on in your own life.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you love to read. Our show is not just a show, but we're actually an online book club. So if you go to betweenthecoverstv.com, we have all sorts of book recommendations there, free books that are available every week, digital downloads, things like that, because we do want people reading. And I have a little library card for you as a club member.
Thank you.
And any club members who stop by at the set on a Wednesday night, have a glass of wine with us, meet our authors. But after you read all of those books, if you have books left over and lying around in your house, please consider thebookfairies.org. The Book Fairies collect over 50,000 books per month here on Long Island and distribute them to school children in need and all sorts of other people. So we do collect books here at the set. If you have any, feel free to bring them to me. I'm constantly driving down there. Books that they don't use here in America get shipped to over 50 different libraries in Africa. So thebookfairies.org. So after you've read and loved the book, pass it along.
Oh, I will.
And if you have any, pass them along to me. We'll be in touch. Before we break for a commercial, today is such a solemn day in New York that I wanted to take a moment for us to reflect on. I can't believe it's been 18 years.
Yeah.
And we are filming in New York. So, Bobby, I think we have thank you, a slide and a prayer. Lord of mercy, Prince of peace, this date, 9/11, carries a heavy burden of memory. This day does not pass in the calendar without our remembering. We remember the heroism of the many that lost their lives in saving others. We remember all those who suffered and died. We grieve for them still, friends and strangers alike, along with their families and friends. And it is right that it should not pass from our memory. But today and in this prayer, along with our remembrance of profound loss, it also seems right that we give voice to our deep longing for peace. And with this prayer, commit ourselves to those actions that will draw us closer to our most precious and ancient and holy desire, peace among all God's children. Dona nobis pacem, Lord, grant us peace. Amen. Please keep all those people in your mind and heart today. We're going to break for a moment and we'll be back.
Writing a book is the adventure of a lifetime. Red Penguin Books take pride in giving our authors a publishing experience that is stress-free and celebratory all the way. Some of our authors first approach us with no more than an idea for a book that's ready to sprout. Others submit completed manuscripts. Whether you're at either end or anywhere in between, our goal is to get you published. At Red Penguin Books, we offer options and opportunities that are unique in the world of publishing, and all of them are designed to keep you, the author we so deeply respect, in the driver's seat, unlike other publishing houses. So, if you want to write a book and are looking for a publisher, we've got you covered. Red Penguin Books deal in publishing services, book development, and ghostwriting for digital, print, and audiobook. Call us at 516-448-4993 or visit our website www.redpenguinbooks.com.
Let's go. No, I've plans with her. I'm sorry, but that's the deal.
A little bit closer, a little bit to the left.
Yes, leave your beer, please. Okay.
There we go. 3, 2,
Daddy,
1.
Daddy! Daddy. There's Mommy.
Do you have a book, either in your head or on your desk, just waiting to get out to anxious readers? Hi, I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, and head penguin at Red Penguin Books. We're a publishing company specializing in books of all genres and publishing in all formats, including digital, audible, and print books. From business books to romance, memoirs to mysteries, our authors have complete control over their books from start to print. We'll help get your book to booksellers all around. Major booksellers such as Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Walmart, even libraries and bookstores around the world. We believe in our authors. So call or email today to get your free publisher's packet to get started. Just visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and get your book out there and into the hands of your readers. At Red Penguin Books, you call all the shots. So call us today and turn your dreams into a reality.
Tourist guidebook about what was likely to happen after 97.
Welcome back to Between the Covers. Thanks for joining us. Our next guest is unfortunately not here in the studio because he's clear across the country, but please welcome author Donald Firesmith. Don, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
I'm so delighted that you're here. And Don is the author of The Secrets of Hawthorne House. Hopefully we'll get a slide up that shows the cover of The Secrets of Hawthorne House, which takes place in Indiana. But this book starts, on the coast there, Don. Are you a coast person or a small town person?
Well, I've lived in 32 different places.
Have you 32?
But I did start out in the Pacific Northwest.
Wow. Okay. So I'm never sure when I read a book how autobiographical it might be. Okay. Did you flee the coast also and suddenly end up inland?
Actually, I lived several places on the Pacific coast, and then moved to Germany for a year.
Oh.
Came back, lived in Switzerland for a couple years. Also lived in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is relatively close to where I put the actual story.
Right. Okay, so you have been in Indiana. Wow, what led you all over the country and all over the world?
I work in software, and I work for companies that are building, systems for other customers around the world. And then now for the last 15, 16 years, I've been working at the Software Engineering Institute. And so I tend to go on trips once again to customer sites and then conferences all over the world.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I'm really shocked that you work in software since you're writing books that are so in tune with young people. I figured you were in education or something.
Nope, just some memories of my own and, observing the kids in the family.
Wow, so you remember being a 15-year-old boy so well you could write for them.
Well, I tried.
You succeeded. I thoroughly enjoyed reading. Absolutely fantastic. Lots of kids in your family. You have beta readers right there in your family?
One with us still. So my youngest son, he read it, and he was one of the 20 or so beta readers I had.
Oh, wonderful. I wish I can get my kids to read something I do. Do you have to pay them? No, kidding. I'm kidding. Now in the book, it's a bit of a mystery and such. Have you always liked, questions or, is there a reason why you write in that genre, or are you one of those writers that I am so envious of that just writes and whatever comes out, it's what happens?
Well, I mostly write speculative fiction. So my first fiction book, I've got 7 technical books that I've had published, but my first fiction book was a book on magical wands. And then my next 2 books were in a series which is science fiction, Alien Invasion. Then I worked on Secrets. Actually, Secrets had quite a long hiatus in it. I wrote all but the final chapter about 17 years ago.
Really?
And had terrible writer's block, couldn't figure out exactly how to end it. And so I put it away, and a couple years ago I went back to it and finished it, which is a good thing.
Okay, you are an inspiration to everybody who has ever suffered from writer's block. Absolutely. 17 years? I'm amazed that you remembered what the names of the characters were after 17 years. Did you have to read it again and see what happened?
Yeah, I definitely had to read it a couple times to get back into it. But I see this as my standard way of dealing with writer's block. If I have writer's block on one book or one article or whatever it is I'm writing, I'll just put it away and work on something else. The key is just getting practice in as much as possible, writing every day if possible.
I think the writing teachers every place are just standing up and applauding right now from you saying that. That's wonderful. How many manuscripts do you have going on right now?
Well, I'm about 90% done with the third book in my Hellhole series.
Okay.
Of course, 90% done with the manuscript means it's only about 50% of the way to being published,
Right.
what with editing and all of, the work that's necessary to get it into shape. And I'm also blocking out the second book in the Secrets series.
Wonderful.
It'll be called The Secrets of Sanctuary Cove, which starts up right where the first book finished.
Oh, fantastic.
And I've got two other books that I'm trying to work out the characters and so on. So I've got a steampunk book that I've started. And I've also got a book on free and low-cost marketing methods for indie authors.
Ooh.
I figured I'd help people out with a lot of the stuff I learned marketing my own books.
Send me a copy when that one's ready. We're going to pass that one around for sure. Well, no writer's block for you. You just listed off 6 different books that are going on simultaneously.
Yeah.
How do you keep them all straight? Do you have charts of characters and scenes all over your house?
No, I don't. Although I have gotten a little bit better at that. It used to be that I just sort of come up with an idea and put the characters in a situation and let them, play out and find out about it as I wrote it. I mean, there were times, for example, in The Secrets of Hawthorne House, I was waiting with bated breath to find out just what was going to happen next. But when my first Hellholes book, when I got a couple Hollywood producers who were interested in producing it, and they hired a scriptwriter to write a script for it, I wasn't 100% satisfied with that script. And so I spent a lot of time learning how to write a movie script. And I found that 95% of what I learned was very useful for books. And so I got into a lot of good habits as far as, writing up information about the various characters and locations.
Wow, fantastic. It sounds like you're approaching all this like a software developer.
It's complex. Can be.
Yes, if I were talking to some other profession, I think he'd be approaching books in a very different way. I love it, the methodicalness. How do you find the time? You've mentioned children, you've mentioned, a technical job, and then...
Yeah, it is tough. I have a job at the Software Engineering Institute that runs about 50 hours a week. So my writing is basically during the week in the evenings, and I'm a morning person. My wife and son are more night owls, so I often end up writing, Saturday and Sunday morning.
You are the biggest inspiration. So far, I have a couple of major takeaways I want our viewers to hear. First of all, when you have writer's block, start another book. And you can't possibly have writer's block if you have, multiple projects going. But also, from your busyness, all of those wannabe authors who say, I don't have time to write, they've got nothing. I mean, really, they've got nothing.
No excuses.
Well, you
Exactly.
got to really want to write. You have the stories in you, and you want to get them out, and that really is what drives you. If I was doing this as a job, to make a living, it would be a different thing. But I enjoy what I do, so I want to do it.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Any other tips for our either writers out there or lovers of reading?
Well, I had my first 7 books published by, your standard brick and mortar publishing houses. And I really didn't like the lack of artistic control. And no matter how many people you have read your books, you always hire an editor to go over it. I use a couple editing tools to also try finding mistakes.
Right.
But no matter what you do, there will always be some mistakes that slip through. And I like the ability now with print on demand and ebooks that if anyone notifies me of a problem, then I can, go in and immediately fix the files, upload them,
Right.
and, in a week or so, anyone who buys the book gets a new copy.
That's right. We don't have to have
and it's
10,000
fixed.
of them wrong.
Yeah, I also like the ability to pick my own cover artists.
Yes.
I was extremely lucky with the artist that I got for The Secrets of Hawthorne House, which is why it won a Book of the Month award, or Book Cover of the Month award for the artist.
Fantastic.
The house is almost a character in this book, and I did architectural drawings of the house, what all the rooms were and how they were situated with each other. And I was able to give my architectural drawings to Rudy, and he took it, and the house on the cover is exactly the way I envision it.
Bobby, do we have that slide again of the book cover to take a look?
Or I can put
There we
the
go.
book up here. I don't know if you can see it well.
Oh, I've got it full screen right now, so our viewers can see the book cover and the beautiful house. So you designed
Rudy,
that. Of
I
course.
got to give him credit here. Rudy is the chief environmental artist
Okay.
for a Paris-based gaming company. So he's very used to doing houses, buildings, the environment. And like I said, I was extremely lucky to find him. I went out, found somebody who did a house in the right style, and he was a joy to work with. I can't really, praise him enough.
Terrific.
Rudy
Well,
Parfait.
thank you for shouting out to your cover artist. That rarely happens. Where can our viewers find you and your books?
Well, you can find me on the internet. You can Google Firesmith, and I will come right up. My author website is donaldfiresmith.com. I have lots of information about the characters. Even, I got picked photographs of the different characters of my Hellhole series, for example. I have some short stories out there, some poetry. And as far as the books, they're available everywhere. So Amazon, Apple iBooks, Barnes & Noble,
Terrific.
Smashwords, Kobo.
Fantastic.
That's another reason why I like being an indie artist. I can basically put it out everywhere.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And listen, do me a favor and keep in touch, because I have a feeling there's going to be another book release at some point, and I'm going to want you back on the show with your next one, okay?
That'd be wonderful.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back after this commercial.
Let's go. Let's go. No, I've plans with her. I'm sorry, but that's the deal.
A little bit closer, a little bit to the left. Yes, leave your beard, please. Okay, there we go. 3, 2,
Daddy! Daddy! There's Mommy.
Do you have a book, either in your head or on your desk, just waiting to get out to anxious readers? Hi, I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, and head penguin at Red Penguin Books. We're a publishing company specializing in books of all genres and publishing in all formats, including digital, audible, and print books. From business books to romance, memoirs to mysteries, our authors have complete control over their books from start to print. We'll help get your book to booksellers all around. Major booksellers such as Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Walmart, even libraries and bookstores around the world. We believe in our authors. So call or email today to get your free publisher's packet to get started. Just visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and get your book out there and into the hands of your readers. At Red Penguin Books, you call all the shots. So call us today and turn your dreams into a reality. Welcome back to Between the Covers. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, going from one genre to another, we're going from somebody who's writing, well, he's writing everything. He had mysteries. What was the word that Don used? It wasn't contemplative, or it wasn't, goodness. There was a word he used that I absolutely loved to mean kind of mysterious, questioning books that I had never heard before. Speculative.
Yeah.
Thank God our audience pays attention. I've never heard that word used for kind of genre fiction. Speculative.
It's speculative fiction.
Speculative. I'm going to now drop that a lot after I write it on my hand in case I don't have Carol to tell me.
It's more almost sci-fi.
Right.
But my novel is somewhat speculative, although
I was told the word of the day. Speculative.
I was told to just call it magical realism.
Oh, okay.
Which I like. Latin American writers write. Many Latin American writers write magical
realism.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But speculative is about things that could happen. That couldn't happen except by some kind of fantasy means.
Right.
But yeah. And
now in your book, which we have right here, thankfully, because we have you live right here, Ms. Ming, Guide to Civilization. Okay, so could happen?
Could it happen? Well, let's see. I'll give away a little bit of what happens.
Okay.
One morning, a lot of very wealthy men in China wake up and think, oh, I'm kind of existentially depressed. These are men who are financiers and business leaders and all of that.
Right.
And they think, why do I make all this money? What's my life really about? There's no meaning in my life. And they start talking, gathering in cafes like French artists, and talking and realizing that making money is really not a fulfilling pursuit.
You hear that, America?
Could that happen?
Could that happen, that people think that making money is not a fulfilling pursuit?
Yeah, and it's much more fulfilling to just share the wealth and spread enlightenment, spread appreciation of humanity and
Could happen?
art and great things.
Right.
Could it happen? I know. Also, it takes magical means to make this happen.
Yes, well.
So, I wrote this book not knowing that that was what was going to happen when I sat down to write it. We were talking before about how my first drafts are pretty incoherent.
Yes, yes.
And
I love that. I love the vision of you sitting down to writing your first draft and basically just kind of doing this jump onto a page or a computer. Are you a handwriter or a typer?
Oh, I'm a typer. Definitely a typer.
And you're typing, and you said to me that it was incoherent. I can't imagine typing anything that's incoherent.
Oh, well, the sentences aren't necessarily coherent.
Okay.
They don't necessarily flow. The story can
But you just let
experiment.
it pour out of you.
I just let it pour out.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, all I knew when I sat down to write this book was that I had taken this kind of quixotic journey to a remote Sichuan village, and I wanted to write about that. And so I thought, quixotic journey. So it's about two women, and they're kind of Don Quixote and Sancho Panza in a way. Anyway, how does this magical realism happen? Well, they meet a character who is also a quixotic character, and he has magical powers. And the rest was clearly what was on my mind as I was writing.
Right.
And I was thinking about my life in Manhattan, my just life in the 21st century, and how difficult it can be sometimes if your main goal isn't to go out and make a lot of money, because it's hard to afford life in Manhattan.
You think?
You think?
I don't know. I was there today. I
Yes.
think that lemonade I had was only, $5. I mean, really.
Great. Well, yeah. And what if you decided you want a pair of Jimmy Choo shoes, but you can't afford them? But what if you could buy them on a sliding scale?
Ooh.
In this novel, this is the fantasy part.
Right.
Anyone can buy anything they want on a sliding scale based on their income. Why does this happen? Because the more people you have consuming, the better it is for the economy.
Right.
When business is slow, people who run a business tell the people who work for them in their office to go out shopping and fuel the economy instead of saying you're laid off because business is slow.
Right. Can you imagine that happening in Manhattan? Business is slow. Go out and shop instead.
Yeah. Where did this come from? Well, the two characters, the female buddies, one of whom is Chinese, Ming, and one of whom is American. Her name is Zoe. It's kind of the life they would like to have. And so they have a chance to remake the world in their image. I should also say that it backfires when human nature gets in the way.
Oops. Now tell me a little bit about your past, because this didn't come out of no place. You studied in, Chinese civilization, teach, travel.
Yeah. I had traveled in Asia, and I went. I got a master's in Chinese studies, a kind of interdisciplinary master's, and then I went and lived in Hong Kong, and I also studied in China for a while and traveled around there a lot. And as I say, this came out of a quixotic journey that was to this really remote part of Sichuan province, to a village that looks something like the village that is depicted in the book, which I describe in the first sentence of the book as the worst place on earth.
Yes.
I don't think it's really the worst place on earth, but Ming, who is born there, when she's a child there, thinks it's the worst place on earth. Yeah. And it's under a kind of dome of clouds. Yes. You can hardly even see the rest of the world from it. That was kind of true. I mean, the village that I visited in Sichuan that was the inspiration for this was very cloudy.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And, very kind of ghostly. And we actually we had a surreal experience there, a speculative experience, perhaps. There was an old pagoda, and I was with a Chinese friend, and we were kind of poking around the old pagoda, and she said, no one has been there in ages. People are kind of afraid of it. They call it other things, but they're afraid of ghosts in there.
Oh.
And she said, would you come out with me tonight and explore it? And I said, Well, I'm kind of afraid of falling through a rotted staircase and breaking both legs and being gnawed to death by rats. But
sure.
It seemed like a legitimate fear in an old rotting,
Right.
an old pagoda that, not rotting, but
Right.
old and crumbling. Anyway, we did go to the doorway, and
Wow, you're brave.
okay, and a man ran out of the pagoda.
No.
A thin, ragged man with bare feet. It looked like, perhaps an ancient Chinese hermit. And he stared at us and looked terrified and just ran around the pagoda and was never seen again. And we looked at each other and we said, who is he? We had some minders behind us. When you travel in China, you often have people, at least in places like that, you often have people who are kind of keeping an eye on you.
Right.
And they didn't even acknowledge his presence.
Really?
So that was real. And when I brought that scene into my writing as I was, dumping out this first draft, I wrote that scene with that person in it. And I thought, he's going to factor into this story in some way. And really, as soon as I brought him in, the story kind of took off, and he turned into this mythical Chinese character who has magical powers. Right. One of the magical powers is the ability to transform himself into 72 different transformations. Could be a gnat, could be a handsome debonair man, could be a lot of other things.
That would come in handy.
Yes. So.
Absolutely. I love the first sentence on the back of the book. Ming, born in a bleak outpost of Sichuan province, finds an unexpected glimpse of the world beyond when she meets a talking monkey with golden eyes and supernatural abilities. The immortal Monkey King, with whom Ming's destiny is inextricably intertwined. Well, how do you not read it after that? I mean,
Well,
absolutely.
I hope that'll make people want to read it.
It made me want to read it when you sent it over. Boy, I read that. I looked at the cover and I said, I don't know. I want to go to China. Is it like a travel guide? And then I read that and I said, better than a travel guide. Absolutely. So all of that just poured out of you because you were inspired by a cloudy night and a strange man in the Sichuan province.
Pretty much. Yes.
Wow.
And, coping with life
Right.
in New York and all of that, too.
Yes, it all goes into one. And
Yeah. I should say that it takes place partly in New York and partly in China.
Yes, absolutely.
And in a way, the two main characters, Ming and Zoe, each have a kind of affiliation for the other's culture. Ming really wants to live in New York. Zoe really wants to be a China scholar.
The eternal let's switch places kind of a
In a
thing.
way, yes.
Be careful what you wish for. I saw Freaky Friday. I know what can happen. Absolutely. I know what can happen. So where can all of our viewers find your book? I assume it's in all the great places.
All the great places.
And the not so great places too. But
well, if you don't see it in the great places, ask for it. Or it comes
that's what we
out-
want. Ask for it and get it into the great places.
Yeah, it actually comes out September 13th.
Oh,
This
so
is
don't
an
ask for it
advance
yet.
copy.
You have to wait.
But you can pre-order it.
I have an
you can
advance
get it on
copy
it.
in my
Yeah,
hand.
you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at bookstores. You can go into bookstores and ask them to get it.
Right.
And
JanAlexander.com.
yes, my website, janalexander.com.
And,
And there are links to buy it online from my website. You can get it, get it as an ebook or as a trade paperback.
Now it comes out on Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Was that a deliberate choice?
Not my well.
I mean, I love the choice, but I was just thinking, was that a deliberate choice or?
No, it just happened that way. But I like to think of the 13th as lucky.
I think 13 is very, very lucky. Well, we're going to take a short break. While we're gone, you can go over and place a pre-order for this book. We'll be right back.
friends with her. I'm sorry, but that's the deal.
A little bit closer, a little bit to the left. Yes, leave your beer, please. Okay, there we go. 3, 2,
Daddy,
What?
Daddy! Daddy. There's Mommy.
Writing a book is the adventure of a lifetime. Red Penguin Books take pride in giving our authors a publishing experience that is stress-free and celebratory all the way. Some of our authors first approach us with no more than an idea for a book that's ready to sprout. Others submit completed manuscripts. Whether you're at either end or anywhere in between, our goal is to get you published. At Red Penguin Books, we offer options and opportunities that are unique in the world of publishing, and all of them are designed to keep you, the author we so deeply respect, in the driver's seat, unlike other publishing houses. So, if you want to write a book and are looking for a publisher, we've got you covered. Red Penguin Books deal in publishing services, book development, and ghostwriting for digital, print, and audiobook. Call us at 516-448-4993 or visit our website www.redpenguinbooks.com.
Do you have a book, either in your head or on your desk, just waiting to get out to anxious readers? Hi, I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, and head penguin at Red Penguin Books. We're a publishing company specializing in books of all genres and publishing in all formats, including digital, audible, and print books. From business books to romance, memoirs to mysteries, our authors have complete control over their books from start to print. We'll help get your book to booksellers all around. Major booksellers such as Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Walmart, even libraries and bookstores around the world. We believe in our authors. So call or email today to get your free publisher's packet to get started. Just visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and get your book out there and into the hands of your readers. At Red Penguin Books, you call all the shots. So call us today and turn your dreams into a reality. Welcome back to Between the Covers. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm sitting here with Jan Alexander, wishing I were in China right now. Could I ask the lightweight questions instead of the heavy book questions? Like, do you have a favorite Chinese food? Can you use chopsticks? Anything like that?
Yeah, well, I learned to use chopsticks when I was 6 years old. My parents used to like to go to Chinese restaurants.
Oh, okay.
Favorite Chinese food? Oh my. I do like Chinese food.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Now I hear
I
that
just had
Chinese
General
food.
Tso's chicken yesterday. It was very
Okay,
good.
good answer. I hear that in China, Chinese food is very different than what we get here in New York.
Well, it is partly because it's very much regional.
Right.
If you go to Beijing, the cuisine is going to be quite different from Shanghai.
Oh.
And if you go to Sichuan, you're going to have Sichuan cuisine.
Right. So what we call Chinese food here in America is just kind of a...
Right, it's kind of an agglomeration. Although, we do have some restaurants now in the United States that separate it. But, if you go to a restaurant that calls itself a Hunan restaurant, you're going to have a lot of mixture from all over.
Because they know they have to appeal to Americans.
Right.
I
yeah.
totally get that. Bobby, do we have our next guest on the air?
Oh.
We're waiting for one of our long distance guests. I'm feeling like maybe to fly in, who knows? It's funny, you and I are talking about being on the other side of the world, and our guests are
Yes.
coming from the other side of
That's
the
right,
world.
yeah.
It's one of those evenings. Is there anything about China that surprised you? I'm sure it all surprised you, but
A lot
you know.
surprised me, yes. I'd always heard that it was, that there were a lot of people
I've
there.
heard that too.
There are a lot of people there.
Really?
There are no small towns.
Really?
Anything that you go to a small town, even a remote rural village, and it's crowded.
It's crowded.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Something to be shocked by.
Yeah.
Now, what are your hopes for the book?
What are my hopes?
Change, political policy? What?
Oh, yeah. Get rid of economic inequality.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh,
it. Yeah, because that's going to
small
happen.
order.
They're all going to read the book, and economic inequality is going to be right out the window.
Yes. Well, if only it were that simple.
I know.
I think that the book, though, does grapple with some themes that have been with us for a long time. I mean, haves and have-nots, and the whole state of mind of, getting. Putting your energy into getting rich versus putting your energy
Right.
into leading a fulfilling life. And sometimes they go together,
Right.
for some lucky few.
And sometimes
they don't.
Right.
And I think these are themes that will probably always be with us, and that my hope. I think the most I can hope for is that the book will make people think about that in a somewhat different light, and think about some alternatives to what we've been doing so far. Right. And I also hope it'll make them laugh. I am not good at sitting down and saying, okay, now I'm going to be funny. But some readers have told me that some parts of the book are quite funny.
Right, right. So you don't sit there and say, time for a joke.
Yeah. But I think life is tragicomic, so I always try to make my writing kind of something that'll make you laugh and cry at the same time, just like life.
That's what life is.
Yeah.
Now, your writing style, though, is very much an organic style. It's flowing. It doesn't sound like you are sitting there with charts and graphs and scene 5
Oh.
and that kind of thing going on.
Yeah, not so much. People have always told me, keep note cards around. I write notes, but I don't always pay that much attention to them.
I love you being juxtaposed with, one of our other authors, just for a difference, because there is no one way.
That's true.
And
yes.
you've ended up with this beautiful book, and it's not your first, so obviously we've been doing this method and it works. And that's a wonderful, it just sounds like it comes from your soul, and you're just pouring it right out onto the computer. I love that image.
Thank you. I think I do just pour it. I do kind of just pour it out. I sat down to write this book, and I really didn't know what the story was going to be, except that 2 women go to this village in Sichuan province.
really all
I didn't
you
know what
knew?
was going to happen after that.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine starting a book just knowing, there's going to be 2 women. I'm not really sure what's going to happen next. I can't even imagine watching a television show like that.
Oh.
And you go in boldly and say, here I am.
Well, of course, no one sees that part. That's the part that takes 10 years.
10 years, worth every day, right? So I won't ask you about the next project because, 10 years and you'll be on the sofa
Oh,
again.
God, yeah, I hope it won't take 10 years.
Now, you've written books before. Is this longer or shorter than other books as far as how long it took you to write and why?
Oh, it's a bit longer.
Okay.
I did a lot of rewriting on this book because I wasn't quite sure where the story was going, for one thing, and I had to do a lot of research too. Part of the research came from the studies, my graduate studies already, but I had to go back and reference a lot of a lot of the information about Chinese history. And this character, the Monkey King, I read all 4 volumes of the classic book that is called Journey to the West. That's the tale of the Monkey King. I can't say I read it all, in great detail, but it's an entertaining story, and so there was research that had to be done.
Right.
And
thus the 10 years.
Right. Yeah. And also, I work full time, so like Donald,
Right. Yeah.
You write when you have time to write.
Absolutely. But there's a lot, like you said, of research and thought and how many revisions this went through and all sorts of things to get us to a book that's not even released yet.
2 days.
2 days, 2 more days, and this could be in your hands. I'm just very lucky. Anything you would change about your process? Or
About my writing process?
Yeah.
Oh my. That's an interesting question. I'd let's see. It would be nice to go in, with more of a decisive sense of where the story is going to go.
Right.
I'm not sure that I can do that, but the process of just banging out the story on the computer, I think it's the way I write. Inventing characters, that's with the novel I'm working on now. That is something I'm doing.
So there's another one coming.
Oh,
I was afraid to ask. This one's not even out yet, so I was afraid to ask.
Yeah, I've started working on it. but
goody.
I'm not quite sure what the story is going
I
to be
love
yet.
that.
So I can't really tell you what the story is going to be because I just don't know. But I am very much. One of the things I've realized is very important to do, and this is from writing 2 novels, is figure out exactly who the characters are before you start telling their story. Then give them a whole backstory
I love that.
that doesn't have to go into
Yes.
into the book ultimately. But what do they look like, and what are their distinguishing characteristics, and all of that, and then you throw them into a situation, and they'll tell you how they're going to react, and that's where the story comes from.
Right. I think that is such wise words for would-be authors out there, is really know your characters. Even the things that aren't in the book, their whole backstory, so you can understand their motivations, and they'll just, if you put them in the situation, they will behave. But at that point, you know
Or
how
not
they
behave.
grew up, or not behave, as the case may be. But you know their childhood, their dreams, their hopes, their foibles, all of the things about them. I'm afraid so many people think that the character was born on the day of the first page, and they don't think in terms of the fact that when the book starts, that character had 20 years of experience already on this earth. What were they doing for those 20 years? Who did they love? What did they enjoy doing? What were some troubles that they had faced already? All of those things actually happened. And whether or not you put them in the book, I think that's so wise to really know your characters. I think that's a great piece of advice for writers.
That's it's what I've read in terms of advice that there are stories that are plot driven, but I like to write stories that are character driven.
Right.
And it is a personal preference.
Well, even in a plot-driven story, it's always my feeling that they might choose the book based on what they read the plot is, but whether they keep going is dependent upon those characters. If they don't love or hate or something, your characters, they'll stop after 50 pages. And, they really have to feel something for the characters.
Oh, absolutely.
They have to care. What happens next? They have to care. So even in the plot-driven things, you can't have one-dimensional characters.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and I demand that as a reader too. I have put down some fine literary novels because I didn't really care about the characters.
Ooh, we won't slam people here, but so this next book, is it also in China and New York, or now we're in, Morocco?
I think that what I'm working on now is more set in America.
Okay, that's what you were reading a lot of American literature.
Right,
so.
because I've been reading a lot of American literature. I think that we're living in very interesting times these days, and I've been back here for a while. Now I can't guarantee, maybe something will change. Maybe one
We
of my
don't know.
characters will tell me,
I'm going on a trip.
yeah, I want to go somewhere.
That's kind of how I feel in life, is I always want to go somewhere. So one of your characters will say that, and you'll be writing, and by page 50, the entire thing is now taking place in Iceland, and you didn't know it.
Exactly. Yeah, you never know.
I love that. Well, please, when the next book comes out, we want you right back here on the red couch telling us all about the book.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I love that. So let's remind our viewers where you can find Ms. Ming's Guide to Civilization and your other books at janalexander.com and fabulous bookstores everywhere. And if they're not there, demand it after Friday that they be there. And we want to thank you for joining us on Between the Covers. Read well and get writing. Thanks for joining us.